Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first summer Connect for Women Power Hour. We're so excited to have everyone back and kick off with a really amazing topic with two amazing women. This is navigating the path to C-suite, and we have Sonal Ranello and Susanna Keith from Hello Guru. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on Hello Career Guru. Is that correct, ladies?
Yes.
Great. So Hello Career Guru is a company committed to helping all women advance professionally, no matter what age, background, income, geography, or race. Discover the first ever virtual career trainer built by women for women. Powered by their proprietary C-suite executive insights, Hello Career Guru creates your customized game plan with curated content and resources, an engaging, easy to use, and affordable career development tool like no other. Hello Career Guru takes only minutes a day to propel you forward by helping you with building your daily action plan, creating a path to the C-suite role of your choice, providing valuable insights into the challenges of securing promotions, asking for a raise, finding a sponsor, and other critical steps. I'm already super jazzed about what you all do, and we haven't even jumped into the conversation. So a little bit of background about our speakers. Sonal Ranello is a co-founder and CMO of Career Guru. Sonal is a strategist and marketer whose career includes client services, strategy, and marketing roles at PwC, Avon, and I can never pronounce this, even though I've purchased it many a time. So please help me, Sonal.
L'Occitane en Provence. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you.
You're hired, by the way. Your pitch was perfect.
And Susanna, as founder and CEO of Hello Career Guru, Susanna brings extensive experience as a senior marketing, sales, and innovation executive with a proven history of driving revenue. She provides strong leadership skills and a deep brand building experience from Fortune 500 companies, Y Combinator startups, and not-for-profits. So we're going to have a more of a fireside chat with Sonal and Susanna. But feel free, you all are welcome to ask questions as well. But let's dive in. So Susanna and Sonal, tell us a bit about Hello Career Guru and how you came up with this idea. Susanna, specifically, why are you passionate about this topic?
Well, since business school, many moons ago, we'll not say the date, so we won't date ourselves, but we have all been mentoring and helping other women with career guidance. And I found that by sharing these insights, it really helps women advance and find a path to the C-suite. And I realized that women really do want guidance. And I tried to think about how could we deliver it to them in the best, most efficient fashion. So I started a group called Women in Innovation, and we had a series of 7 different C-suite panels. And around that, we had over 600 women join a meetup without any work whatsoever, or not a dollar spent, all done for the love of helping all women get ahead. And we surveyed that group and found that women really wanted to have a career trainer to help them get ahead. They needed the guidance to figure out what are the skills, what are the resources, how can I get ahead? There's so many things out there on the internet. I'm confused about what's right for me. And in fact, women said it would take them 12 extra hours to find out what they needed from the internet. So then we did a no instant insights poll among 1,000 women ages 25 to 45 and found that 80% of women wanted a career trainer, 76% would pay for it. So then we decided, I put together this great founder team of Sonal, another woman, Karen Keene, who's our CFO, and Tom Beauchamp, who's our CIO and also co-founder, to build Hello Career Guru, which really gives women curated content, resources, organizations to join, everything she needs to achieve reaching the C-suite if she wants. And it's all powered by our secret sauce, which is executive level C-suite insights. And in fact, our data set is 38% minority women. So we will be serving a very diverse, underrepresented group of women from across the nation. So that's how we came up with Hello Career Guru. And then the name, just so you know, is because 2.0 will be available on Siri and Alexa. So that's how we got Hello Career Guru. So a woman could say, Hello Career Guru, what is my game plan for today? And in fact, if you want, you can go now on your Siri and Alexa and go play the Hello Career Guru podcast, and it will come up.
Wow. I'm surprised that none of our phones didn't pick up your voice and started talking to us right there.
Exactly. That does happen sometimes with Alexa.
So that's great. Turning to Sonal, how did you get involved in Hello Career Guru? And like Susanna, what motivates you to be part of the leadership team?
So I have known Susanna for quite some time. We actually worked together back in the day. We were both in the beauty industry. So I met her at Avon, and we stayed connected over the years. And she knew that I had, in my recent past, written a book for women, and it was a planner organizer for female job seekers. And it was inspired by one that I'd had for my own wedding years before, but I needed a tool when I was going back to work. And so I created it. And then people thought it was a good idea. So it became more than I had originally planned. So Susanna knew that I felt strongly that women needed more tools and resources to help them in their career journey. So when she approached me about becoming involved with Hello Career Guru, I was motivated by the fact that, and I know several of you can probably relate to this, you kind of go along in your career and you do the job you're doing and you do it well. And maybe once in a while you think about the next step, but rarely do you think about the 4 or 5 steps ahead in terms of actually creating some tangible pathways to that goal. So you may say, yeah, I'd like to be a CEO, but that's kind of where it ends. And so what Guru is really intended to do is help people set a marker in the future. And we all know that those markers can change. But by doing that, you then lay the foundation for understanding, well, for people who have been in those roles, what were the things they thought were critical to learn or to do, or traits to develop in themselves. And so with that, our proprietary algorithm helps set the priorities for that development and then serve up the content all in one place. So for someone like me, who was always a do-it-yourselfer, I wish one of the things I had done more in my career was ask people for help. How do you think about this issue I'm dealing with? What about my future? What do you think are my strengths and weaknesses in other types of roles? Like, those are things that are great ways to engage individuals in a conversation about your own path. And you should do those things. But then there are the other things that are really about sort of self-development. And I think Hello Career Guru plays a vital role in that. Because people, when they think about the development, they usually think about one dimension. And we actually have identified 3. And I think that's really compelling to make sure you're developing across sort of the full spectrum of what's required to advance in your career. So long answer, but again, a lot of it was drawn from my own belief that I wish I'd had access to more people and more resources that were easily attainable. And I felt like this did it in a way that nothing else does today.
Yeah. What great tips you have there, Sonal, especially as women. And as we think about our Connect for Women group, as women, I feel like a lot of times we don't want to reach out to the resources because, we're intimidated, or we feel like then people aren't going to think that we're worthy of doing the job that we're doing. So what great tips on asking, for help and asking for that advice. So Susanna, picking up on that thought, what are some career tips you would give the women whose goals are to aspire to the C-suite?
Oh, great. Julie, thanks for the great opportunity to talk about that. Our C-suite data set and our podcast really provide some key things that I thought would be wonderful. First of all, Shelley Archambault, who I don't know if you've heard of, you should definitely Google her. She is the first Black tech CEO in Silicon Valley, and she just wrote a book called Unapologetically Ambitious. And she talks about how important it is to always represent what you do versus your title. So when you go into a meeting or you're on that Zoom call, talk about, hi, I'm Susanna Keith. I analyze the competitive data and help us look at trends in the marketplace that could further impact what our product forecast is. So you're explaining what you do, the value that you add to your organization versus just your title. And that's something that people will always remember and think about the work that you added, and that they'll even come to you as a resource. So that can really help to build your brand. The second thing is another great thought leader is Cheryl Strauss Einhorn, who's written a book called The Area Method, which I highly recommend as well. And that's about how you can make key decisions by doing very simple analyses around what types of things are driving your big decision. And one of the things she talks about is always take time, analyze your problem slowly, don't make quick decisions, try to sleep on it before you come up with your ideas. And then finally, the last one, another book quote, is Fran Hauser, who wrote the book called The Myth of the Nice Girl. And it's a great book about how nice people really do get ahead. And she talks about be ambitious and don't ever apologize. So I would recommend these 3 key tips for women as they begin to map out their paths to get to the C-suite. And as we know, our path can often be latticed. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's across, sometimes it's down. Sometimes we take a career break, and all those things are okay. We're all experiencing that. And that's why Hello Career Guru is here to help lift up all women.
Thank you for that reminder, Susanna. And if you have a moment between now and the end, I'm sure everyone's frantically writing those book recommendations down. So if you wouldn't mind throwing them in the chat, or if somebody marked those down, throw them in the chat. I'm sure people would be interested in that.
Great.
Sonal, as a senior executive in the beauty industry in your prior life at places that I clearly don't know how to pronounce, what are some lessons that you learned getting to the C-suite, and what are some career tips for women transitioning from the C-suite and trying to reinvest in themselves?
Great question. I always love having the need to sort of reflect on my career and see, what would I sort of take away if I had to tell my younger self, here are 3 really important things. And here's what I found. It's not rocket science. These are things you inherently know and you've heard them before, but the application to your career, I think, is often where we don't do it consistently. And our research actually among the C-suite executives, reinforces 3 very simple but powerful themes. The first is it really starts with you and your own mindset, right? That's where all behavior stems from. What do you think you are capable of? And so if you aren't sort of putting yourself out there because you believe you can't do those things that you'd like to achieve, then you're really your worst roadblock to that success. The second is, and I've already mentioned this, is you cannot do it alone. The journey requires you to build a village the way you do in your personal life, in your professional life. And I would actually argue people need to start doing that from day one in their career. I think along the way, many of us view that village as being helpful at milestone events. I want a new job. I want a promotion. I want to go do something different. When really that community should be cultivated from the beginning. And that requires a little bit of effort, but I think the payback, not only for yourself, but what you can bring to those individuals is really a powerful thing in one's career. I wish I'd started to do it sooner myself. And then the other is really, and I know a number of women who I think do this so well in other aspects of their lives, and bringing it to their careers is just another dimension, is just always keep learning and be curious. Whether it's within your own role, what someone else in your organization does, other organizations or companies, the competition, always keep learning. And that's actually often a great avenue to engage other people in conversations that you might otherwise wonder, what do I have to talk with them about? And the other thing is, and we've seen this, if you look at the content on our platform, quite a bit of the content actually is people's stories of how they achieved. And I will tell you, there's not a one who did not have to overcome some obstacle. So that is not unique to you as an individual. It is part of the journey. There is not one person who hasn't had to overcome, I'll say, many obstacles to achieve what they did. And the other thing is, even though we're women and we may feel that we have more obstacles, you read about men and what they've had to overcome. It's a part of life. So that cannot be the hang up for not sort of at least trying to move towards where your ambition is. And then the other piece of this is really, you just have to be honest with yourself. What are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you like? What do you not like? I took a couple of jobs in my career where my spouse said to me, I don't think that's the right job for you, but I really wanted to like it for X, Y, and Z reasons. And I took it and it wasn't the right job. And so, boy, I did not make that mistake the third time. And then as part of the village, I think this is where they can play an important role as well, is asking them what they think you're good at and where they could see a role for you in the future or a different type of organization. I had a client once who, I was a marketing and strategy consultant for 2 companies that were private equity backed. And I thought they were bringing me in for a very specific skill set. And somehow it came up, well, what do you think my value is? And literally he didn't even hesitate. And he said to me, your value is that you create structure for me out of a chaotic place. And I thought, what an interesting way to view the work I do. He's like, you create structure from chaos. You make me sound better than I do. Like, those are the things he's attributed to me, not my strategic planning process and my beautiful deck and my marketing plan, but it was these other things that I never would have articulated myself. But in talking with someone about their perceptions, it sort of enlightened me. And so I think, self-assessment doesn't mean just do it by yourself. There are plenty of people who can weigh in.
Yeah, and Sonal, thank you for reinforcing that. We've had other speakers too come on and say, when you can't see the things that you're good at yourself, pull the audience and see what they say to identify, how others are viewing you. It's such a boost right there. So thank you for reinforcing that. Definitely something we've heard before.
Julie, I might, if I may add something to that. In this journey that we're all on, right, in my own, I found reflecting back on previous recommendations that have been given to me and for me, I learned a lot about myself too, and being able to craft my own story, to be able to tell my story as I'm having these informational interviews and going forward. And not just learning about myself from those recommendations from other people, but it really gives you a lot of insight into what these other people are looking for out of you. I feel like, we're all sort of projecting what we want to see in other people all the time anyways. And so in looking at different positions and different companies, kind of identifying the right players and the people that, could potentially be your hiring managers, and kind of paying attention to the language that they're using, talking about other people, really gives us insight into what they're looking for.
Yeah, great point, Francine. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. Susanna, this question's for you. What are the important things to keep in mind to help you progress in your career?
So really, I think one of the really interesting things that we don't often think about is as you progress in your career, often you have control over who you work for, right? Especially now in this pandemic, like people are given new choices, new ways of thinking about things. One of the things that you can do is try to work for a smart boss. Don't just look at the role that you're taking on, look at who you're working for. What can you learn from them? What's their experience? Ask them about what kind of boss do they see themselves? What is the value that they bring? What are their skills? What are their experiences? So that you can really evaluate, is this somebody that I can learn something from? I mean, you can't always do that, but definitely as different points along in your career, you definitely have the opportunity to do that. And then you'll find a good way to learn, and then you can turn that person potentially into a mentor. Then on top of that, when you're looking at your organization, make sure that you not only have mentors, but you really have a sponsor. And the difference between a mentor and sponsors is mentors can be a peer, they can be someone that's senior to you, they can be somebody outside the organization, and you should definitely have as many mentors as possible. You should be having, quick monthly 10-minute, 15-minute conversations with those mentors to help guide you. But a sponsor is somebody in your company who's part of the board or the team that's going to get you promoted. And so that's someone that you can spend time with and say, what are the things that are required to get promoted? What do you see other people doing, progressing for them to get promoted, and really work with that person on the guidance on what needs to happen. And then lastly, but not least, is networking within your organization and your own external community. I think right now, a thing we've learned from the pandemic is you got to really maximize LinkedIn. People, since they're home, they're working a lot, but they also have time for those quick little 10-minute, 20-minute networking meetings. now is a great time to reach out and reconnect to people that were in your network but no longer are in your network, because it's great to just kind of constantly be thinking about, I call it the 15-minute networking plan. Sort of alluded to it, like have once a week, 15 minutes that you're going to network with somebody that you don't know or somebody that you want to reconnect with. I think that that's really very critical. So those are 3 things that I would highlight to help you progress in your career.
Well,
Yes,
and
and
if
I
I could
think
just add to that, and this is one thing I have to call out Susanna. She's outstanding at this, building her community within organizations and externally. But one of the things I love the most is she's gutsy. She will reach out to people that you might think, well, they're never going to answer me back, but she will reach out to them once. If they don't hear back, she'll try again. And then, believe it or not, a lot of them actually do get back to her. And I'm always amazed. And so she's not afraid of the no, which I think so many of us take it so personally. But I do think if you don't hear back, you try again within your organization or externally. And if that didn't work, well, then maybe you move on, but you got to give it a shot. So again, I just wanted to reinforce that because Susanna does it so well. And so I'm trying to be that way myself.
I love it.
well, and I think Susanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said how you got introduced to Jen De Silva, our head of Connect for Women, was you just introduced yourself via LinkedIn, right?
Exactly. I just thought that what she was doing with Women 4.0 was amazing. And that she was doing such great work with Connect for Women that I really wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, and here you are, and we're so happy to have you here. My next question, though, I kind of want to build on the progress in your career, but drill down a little bit deeper, specifically as it relates to leadership. So what are some effective ways to set yourself apart as a respected leader?
I think the number one way that you can set yourself apart is by having a mantra. And a mantra is something that you believe in, something that you could start thinking about every day, that you can kind of use as your guiding principle. And here's a good example of one that I love and that I've adopted. Starts with listen carefully, analyze thoroughly, and then act decisively. And actually, you're going to laugh. I had a career in politics, so that's kind of where it came from. These quick little sound bites that people will remember. But like many women, I crashed and burned and felt like it's better to try and go through business to try to get more women in the C-suite. And maybe then someday we'll have a female president, right? but at any rate, a mantra can really help guide you and move your career ahead. So I would encourage everybody to adopt one.
Well,
Can you say that again?
Thank you. There's my mantra.
Be fierce.
I love it. Be fierce. Oh, you wanted to hear mine?
Can you say that again, those 3 quick points that you had?
Sure, and feel free to adopt them. It's listen carefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Analyze thoroughly.
Uh-huh.
And act decisively.
Yeah.
And it's a great one as a mom too. Great one to tell your children.
Oh yeah, it's a constant triage and like hostage negotiation daily.
Yes. Well said, Renzi.
Oh, that's so funny. Sonal, as it relates to leadership, why do you feel leadership is important and how do you differentiate a good leader?
It's interesting because that word leadership, I think, we think we know exactly what it means, but it's easier to talk about what we know when we don't have good leadership in an organization, because you see the impact on results, morale, turnover, or even the opportunities you think are available to you when you're working for someone that's not a great leader. But I think Susanna hit on some of this, even just talking about how the traits of being a respected professional. And one of the things I think is really interesting is, if you could simply feel that someone is treating you the way you would like to be treated in the workplace, I think that very simple framework lends itself to great leadership. People want to be valued. So are you treating them the way that they feel valued? They want to deliver results and value. People don't typically come to work thinking they want to not do those things. They want to feel like they've earned the right to be there and earn their paycheck. They want to feel that they are achieving something bigger than maybe just the role that they're in. So I think a good leader actually sort of connects the work to the greater ambition of an organization beyond just the dollars and cents of companies, but really, the mission of making someone's life better or helping people, do something faster or helping people have an experience. Like those are all greater ambitions of an organization. If you can help people on your team connect back to that, I think that's really motivating as a leader, but not everyone really recognizes that as an opportunity to communicate as a leader.
Oh, I just froze. Am I frozen?
You're good.
No, you look great.
Okay, okay, great. Sorry. Sometimes technology over here isn't working. Susanna, I want to go back, knowing that how you talked about networking and how Sonal gave you such high props for the way that you do network. What advice would you give our community on how to build a meaningful network, both internally and external opportunities?
Oh, great. Such a great question, Julie. So I'd go back to that idea of the 15 minutes a week. Definitely like adopt that, of where you're going to spend time with somebody new or a colleague that you've lost touch with, or someone in a different industry that you're going to network with, and ask them who they can introduce you to. You know, really, and ask who you can introduce them to. So really pay it forward. Secondly, join as many business associations and volunteer boards as you can or have time for. I find that early in my career, I was on a board of a not-for-profit in New York City. And what was really exciting about that is I oversaw 200 women in fundraising area. And I would have never had that experience so early in my career. And it really taught me a lot about managing employees, managing volunteers. And I find that if you get a chance to be on a not-for-profit board in your community, not only do you get the great fulfillment of giving back, but you can also make some incredible contacts, learn, really great things. And as you know, it also helps, just build your career and your credentials as a person. And business associations are great. Try to go to at least a networking thing once a month, with the relevant business association, and get to know some other people, because those women will always be there for you, especially with the highs and lows of our career. And then finally, I call it planes, trains, and automobiles. And thank goodness these things are finally starting to open up. But wherever you are, like, connect with people, on the bus, in the grocery store, at your book group, and you name it. You just never know what people do. Look, I love the story about Francine and Kate and how they met in the library. I mean, connect with people where you can and link in with them. You just never know how you can help each other out. And ultimately, this will give you a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction in life. But I think that these are key factors to help you build a meaningful network and maximize LinkedIn, really maximize it.
Yes, and to our Connect for Women, community, maximize what we are building here and what Jen has really built over the last 2 years. That's why we're so thankful that we have each other. And I will say too, if anybody is familiar with Lunch Club or not familiar with Lunch Club, that's a really great networking platform. It's kind of like speed dating for networking, where you build your own profile, and there's an algorithm that pairs you up, and you can do it up to 3 times a week. Really great way to get to meet people who you might not find on LinkedIn, or who you might not find on LinkedIn, just to add to that. Sonal, for our group of women, how can we all make sure that we are all on the path to C-suite? This is obviously why these women joined today, and we're all dying to know. Oh, you're on mute.
That's
Had to be.
That's a lot of pressure
on that question, but yes, that is why we're here today. So I alluded to it earlier when I talked about, we have these grand ambitions, and it could be C-suite, it could just be executive roles. C-suite, is one type of executive role, but there are many aspirations people may have. And the thing is when you view it as sort of a big ambiguous goal, you don't know how to measure if you're moving towards it. So I think, and Susanna's also alluded to this, breaking down, like, what are the things you need to do along the way to get to the next level that sets you up to then go down that path. And it varies by organization or industry or function, but you need to speak with people to understand what that looks like. And so it's not just your HR review once a year, but it's really trying to talk with people who are ahead of you a number of years or in those roles today. How did you get there, and understanding their journey? And then how does that impact the journey you're on or would like to be? So you have to break the big dream down into bite-sized steps. Understanding those steps, yeah, there are probably some general pathways, but it's really individual to you. And I think you get that knowledge by engaging with other people, as well as your own self-assessment and your own learning. And that's where, again, a tool like ours is so great, because it helps you sort of continue on your sort of self-improvement plan. Because a lot of the skills that we are prioritizing across the different roles are similar. So it means if you want to achieve at a certain level, there are certain baseline skills and behaviors that you need to cultivate. It doesn't matter what the role is. And some people might find that surprising, but when you start to think about it, you know, crisis management, establishing a vision, communication skills, problem solving, those can be used in a lot of different roles and for a lot of different reasons. And so cultivating those, whether it's through your organization or through self-development, is really important. So the other thing is then using that review process every year, and hopefully even like twice a year. Some companies have that, or you can do an informal review process, is really a way to measure, are you sort of moving the train forward on the track? Suzanne, I don't know if you'd have anything to add to that.
No, you nailed it, Sonal.
And thank you, Sonal, for reminding us that we have to break it down into pieces. I think, you know, when you think about the Post-it note of to-dos, and like the big to-do is like, get to C-suite. It's like, that is a huge, that's not just like a check mark of a to-do. So really appreciate you.
Well, and there's one build to the point is, there are 3 types of capabilities people should be developing. And along with that, we also, you know, the world is different today. Today, you actually have to prove that you can do the next level job before you typically get the promotion. You used to get promoted on potential and that you did your job really well, your current job. Now we find increasingly you actually need to showcase the skills of the next role in the current role to get that opportunity. So I'm not sure if you've heard that from other speakers or in your own experience, but that's what we're hearing and certainly have experienced. So the 3 areas for development are not just skills or sort of knowledge in a specific area of expertise, but it's also the behaviors that you're bringing to the table, bringing to your work life every day. And then the third is innovations, is what we call it. But really, what are you doing above and beyond that really is introducing something fresh to the role that you currently have? So those are 3 different types of development, and our framework is aligned that way, because I think people tend to think of 1 or 2 of them, but really there are 3 that you should be actively managing at any point in time to make sure you're sort of comprehensively developing yourself.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Julie? Do you mind?
Sure.
So you said something earlier, and I think a lot of people find themselves in the situation where they maybe accepted the wrong position, maybe the role isn't right for them, or maybe it's the wrong fit at the company. You know, assuming, you know, you close out your projects, this and that, what is really, you know, industries, and I know industries are different, there's a lot of variables to this question, but what is a respectable amount of time to invest in a position where you just don't see growth for yourself, or maybe the company or position just wasn't a right fit from the beginning?
That's a really good question. I think it's actually so personal. It depends on your financial situation, your responsibilities, where you live geographically, perhaps in terms of other opportunities, size of organization. Is it large enough that you can maneuver within it? Or is it fairly small, so there's not a lot of places for air cover and new opportunities? So I think there are a lot of caveats, but for me, at one company, I was there for a year, and the other company, I was actually there 2 years. But the first year, I actually got to do all the fun work as a consultant, and it was fabulous, and I loved it. It was my wheelhouse. When I was asked to come on board, the expectation was I'd still do a lot of that work, which I love and I was good at, but there were other things that I was going to be taking on that weren't so familiar, but I was excited to learn them. So it seemed like a great opportunity. But really, when I got into it, by the end of the second year, I realized this probably is not only not the right role, but maybe not the right industry for me. But I had spent 2 years there. And along the way, it was a great fit. And then it just happened to be, I ended up in a role that wasn't the right fit.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
So I'm sorry, I threw out more question marks than answers, but just
No,
things that you need to think about if you are
there's
in
a
that
lot of
position,
variables. Yeah.
and not just sort of have a knee-jerk reaction to, I don't like my job.
Mhm.
Because everyone's going to hit that wall. I found out, my husband told me, he's like, oh, there was a point I didn't like my job for a while. And I was like, really? I had no idea. Like, you seem good at it and you've been pretty good at it. But he's like, no, it doesn't, not every month is a rosy month. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's true. There really are so many variables about it. It's just, sometimes it can just be difficult if you know that you're on a detour on your path, to C-suite or to anything else that you're shooting for. Those detours can be frustrating because you don't feel like you're quite working towards that thing you want to be working towards, but you still feel an obligation to your team and to the company. And so, I think it really is a question of personally understanding the situation. So you're right. It's way too difficult to one size fits all the question.
But it's a good segue, Francine, because my last question I have is, as we come up to the end of our time today, are, asking Sonal and Susanna about the most valuable career lessons that they've learned along the way. And obviously Sonal had a great story, very specific, but yeah, a lot of variables. But Sonal and Susanna, like 1 or 2 kind of top career lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yes, I think, some of the ones that I've sort of, I just want to reinforce too is, number one, always be yourself. Shelley Arkema really talks about that in her book too, which I just love the way she talks about it. Definitely follow her on LinkedIn. She talks about it as well. Secondly, the importance of listening. And while I have that as part of my mantra, it's just so important to really listen to what people are saying. Don't just hear the words, do active listening of trying to digest, really listen to what they're saying. And then finally, have empathy. Empathy is a key sign of big leaders, especially right now with what's going on with the pandemic. Those leaders that are stepping up and really helping us women navigate with family, with extended family, with work, with going back to work, not going back to work. Those are the people that are really going to succeed at the top levels. So I would highly recommend those 3 those valuable lessons that I've had. Sonal, anything on your end, or?
I feel like I've said everything. I'm not sure what else I have.
All. We appreciate it.
I got nothing left.
And Julie, if I may, before we close off, I want to offer to all the amazing women on this call a special offer of 2 free months on Hello Career Guru. You use the code GURU21 when you log in, and I'll put it in the chat, and that expire, in August. But we'd love if you try it, and then please reach out to Sonal and I. You can hit us both at Susanna and Sonal at hellocareerguru.com. Of course, that's one of us individually. Sonal, Sonal at hellocareerguru.com, and then Susanna at hellocareerguru.com. And please follow us on social media and LinkedIn, and let's keep in touch. We'd love it.
Yes. Thank you both so much for your time today. Such invaluable information that you are giving to not only the women that we have on today's call, but as we post this out as well to all of our viewers too. Our Power Hour series will continue this summer. Our next one will be next Wednesday with Leanne Coburn on a topic that people might find intimidating, but that's why we create a very safe space, but it's about organizing your financial life. So we'll be talking about investments and all things money related. So thank you all so much for joining. Susanna and Sonal, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Julie.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.